What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Jacob and Me podcast. I'm the host, Richard Radio, joined by the man with the noggin, Jacob Bullard.
What's up?
How you doing, Jacob?
I'm good.
Fresh day.
Just
Fresh
had some
start.
chipotle.
Chipotle.
It's
About
very good.
to booty the toilet later, or no?
I guess that's technically, how it works.
If you didn't know, ladies and gentlemen, this is a Jacob and Me podcast show where me and my friend Jacob here talk about anything and everything that we want to talk about. Like, for instance, video games, movies, TV shows, and all the other stuff that we like to jerk off to. Then we like to get into some sports in our undrafted opinion section because we are the undrafted opinions. Then finally get into some history and political talk at the
Current
very end,
events.
or current events in our Pennsylvania Avenue, as we'll take a stroll down there. But yes, that's it. I don't know. That's it. That's all. That's the intro. We're done.
But first,
Oh, yes. But before we start, Larry, you got that, yeah. Our Games Pass game of the week for Xbox Games Pass users is Quantum Break. Is that like a part of the? Don't they have like a cool like intro song?
I'm pretty sure that they would use that as their intro
They
song
would.
if they had it. Yeah.
Quantum Break.
Yeah. That's exactly how I imagine it going.
Quantum Break, the Game Pass game of the week, because it's the Game Pass game of the week, and it just came out on Game Pass on the 1st. Jacob says it's the most underrated Xbox exclusive of all times.
Just like without really thinking about that, sure.
Okay.
I think it's a really underrated game. It's a lot of fun. You have to just kind of turn your brain off for the very final boss fight.
Oh, okay.
Because that's could have done better there.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's a really solid game. Got kind of the short end of the stick, I think.
That seems like a lot of Xbox exclusives.
It's true. It is true.
Regardless, Game Pass game of the week, Quantum Break. If you have Xbox Game Pass, try it, get it, love it, suck it. I guess, I don't know.
Wow.
Let's
That escalated quickly.
keep moving, Jacob. What is coming out this week?
All right, I broke it into the 3 big categories.
Yes, we have a list of things coming out this week in video games, movies, and
Television
Television.
premieres.
We have television premieres apparently this week too.
Well, just because like this is a time of year where like the new seasons of stuff are starting.
And then what else? What's at the very bottom?
All this down here is video games.
Oh, that's just straight. Okay, all right, cool,
This is movies, and this is TV shows.
nice.
Are you ready?
I believe so.
Very first one.
Let's get it.
Since this is the first time we've done this, I went back to like kind of the beginning of September. So, September 4th. So it has already started as of recording. September 4th is The Purge on USA. Television series based on the somewhat successful movie franchise.
It's like their 4th or 3rd installment lately. No, it was a 4th installment a couple months ago that came out.
The first Purge, I
The
think it
first
was.
Purge,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if you're into The
Terrible
Purge,
movie, but yeah.
well, okay. Apparently it's a terrible movie. I never saw it. But The Purge series is out on USA. September 5th, last week, was the final season premiere for It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
It's always sunny.
Did you ever watch that show?
I love that show. I forgot
Are
all
you
the
current on
characters.
it?
No,
Okay, well, R.I.P.
but that's because I don't really watch TV that much anymore.
This is true. You don't. So if you love the last season, or if you love It's Always Sunny,
Ain't no
final
one
season
got that.
coming up, starting. This past Friday, September 7th, the newest installment of the Marvel Netflix shows, the 2nd season of Iron Fist.
Iron Fist. Get some of these hands, bro.
Yep, that's definitely the catchphrase. I put this in, I guess, really just for me because this is something that I watch all the time.
Blacklist.
But on Monday,
Hands may tell.
tomorrow, as of recording, is the 35th season of Jeopardy.
Oh. Wow. That's been going on for that long?
Yeah, it has. Alex
Trebek hasn't been doing it since the original. He wasn't the original.
He was not the
host.
original, but he's been doing it for probably,
Plus 25, right?
I would say, plus 30.
Oh, God.
I think the original guy only did it for like a couple seasons.
Jesus. God bless that
September
gentleman.
12th, which is Wednesday, coming up on FX, is the next installment of the American Horror Story. This one's titled
Ooh,
Apocalypse.
I'm gonna make up theme songs to these TV shows. This one's and it's like kind of like scary.
Okay, sure.
It's American Horror Story.
That was pretty scary, actually. That was pretty terrifying theme song. And then next Friday, or this coming Friday, sorry. A show that I've always heard somewhat good things about but never have watched is BoJack Horseman on Netflix.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it's like a dude with a horse head. Basically.
Yes, that is exactly what it is.
I've seen that advertised on Netflix, but I never had the balls to.
There are too many other things to watch. That was pretty good.
Yeah,
that was a good job. In the world of movies, September 7th. So these are out right now as of recording. Really the only two things that I thought worthy of writing down was The Nun and Peppermint.
Is it The Nun having fun?
That is the subtitle, yes. Yeah. Peppermint kind of getting roasted on the reviews a little bit, I think. I saw it yesterday at like 10% on Rotten Tomatoes.
So who's in that? I've seen that name. I know I saw a trailer. But
Jennifer Gardner.
Oh, okay. Okay. It's the where she has like a kid. Is it a kid or something?
It's like a female Punisher.
Oh wait, yeah. Never mind. Yeah.
Is kind of what I got from it. It's like her family's killed and then she goes on a
right,
revenge thing. Yeah.
It's kind of like John Wick, but with the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Jennifer Gardner coming back to the big screen. First time in a while. I feel like she hasn't done anything in a while.
Oh, she's done the Capital One commercials.
That's true. What's in your wallet? And then next week, this coming Friday, only really one thing that I thought worth noting. The Predator.
The Predator. That's coming out this week?
It comes out on Friday.
There's a lot of stuff that came out actually this week. I know a couple weeks ago Enchantment came out on Netflix. And then this on the 7th, right? Yeah, yesterday. A show called Atypical that I really enjoy. Me and Carly like watching it.
Okay.
It's a show with a autistic kid as a main character, but he's like, I don't know how to describe how his autism is, but he's like, he would look like us, but like he just has like weird tics, and then he also is like a little antisocial and a little too literal and a little too honest, which is kind of like the reason why I like the show the most. And then he has like a good cast of people around him, I feel. And actually one of the bands that I book, one of the bass players is actually in the show, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
That is pretty cool. I guess jump back really quick while we're on the inserting random things. The Jack Ryan series on Amazon also started. I believe it was the 31st of August. But you can stream the whole season now.
I feel like that already started like a while ago. And like, is this like the first season?
Yeah.
Okay. Because they've just been advertising it.
Yeah. They had a pretty good marketing, pretty big marketing push. So John Krasinski playing Jack Ryan. I am 3 or 4 episodes in now. I was watching it with my parents, and we were at home yesterday, and they wanted to know if there was like any movies that we should watch. And I was like, oh, why don't we just continue watching Jack Ryan? They finished it while I wasn't there. I was like, oh, yeah. My dad was like, oh, I thought Mom told you.
Oh, does.
And I was like, no, she didn't say anything. And I went and talked to my mom, and she's like, yeah, you weren't here. Oh, wow, screaming child. Yeah, you weren't here, and we wanted to finish it. I was like, wow, thanks. I appreciate that.
That's like what Carly does to everyone that watches a TV show with her.
Yeah, wow. I guess.
That sucks.
Yeah, I was very disappointed. Last but not least, the world of video games.
Oh, video game. Boop, beep,
September
boop, boop.
4th. So this was last Tuesday, I believe. The newest expansion for Destiny 2, Forsaken. You've not played Destiny. Well, neither one of us have played Destiny in a really long time. Did you even buy Destiny 2?
I have.
Oh, you did.
I played Destiny 2. It's a beautiful game, but graphically it does not hold the weight of the gameplay for me.
So the graphics aren't good enough to justify the bad gameplay. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
So I've heard a lot of good things. I have not played Destiny 2 in a really long time, really since like a month or so since launch.
You have to like really be like addicted to that stuff to get into it. Like you can't. You're playing Destiny and then you're playing another like you're doing like the daily stuff and then you have like another.
Very grindy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you have to have that kind of system. Like that's like, but you can only have really one of those games when you think about it. Because like, I've definitely tried to play Destiny and what was the game? Overwatch, around the same time, and I was like, this doesn't work. So.
Also on September 4th was the full release of PUBG on Xbox. And with it, I believe, was the new forest map.
Yeah, the smaller version of that. It's been on PC for like it was tested on PC, and I think if you can download a separate like 10 gig game preview thing. It's like a test beta server, whatever you call it.
Oh,
and you
yeah,
can
yeah,
play
yeah.
that on there.
Yeah.
But the full version didn't come out until.
Lastly, also on September 4th, franchise very ridiculously popular in Japan, but I honestly don't know anyone that plays any of these games. Dragon Quest 11 came out last Tuesday. Big one of like probably the bigger JRPGs in Japan.
Yeah, it's like another thing like Destiny. It's like it's not niche, but it has to be your cup of tea.
Yeah,
it really does.
Yeah,
and like the problem too with those is like you don't know actual what number it is. Like it could, like in Japan it could be a different number from here, and then also if you're not into JRPGs, like there's no point in playing those games.
This past Friday, September 7th, was NBA Live 19. So if you like that.
In
basketball.
Oh, NBA.
NBA Live.
I think you said NBA Live. And I was
NBA
Live.
Live.
Yeah, I saw that on EA Access to try to get me to download the 10-hour preview thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, nope, I'm good.
Yeah, I don't care enough about basketball to play NBA Live. But, I mean, sure, if that's your thing.
Graphically.
Just like, I don't play Madden either, so.
Yeah, it looks good, I guess.
Also, September 7th, one of the probably bigger releases this fall was Spider-Man.
Spooderman!
Getting a lot of good reviews out there. Not really my cup of tea. I did not jump on board the hype train after E3 and all that. I think the game looks very quick-timey. It does look good. Like, the graphics are great, obviously. But a lot of what I saw in the gameplay demonstrations was like a lot of QuickTime events and stuff like that. Not really my game. I'm sure I've heard really good things about the story and the voice acting.
I've heard the gameplay though there's like a somewhat of a flaw to where you can like it teaches you how to do all these cool moves, but you don't even have to do all those to even beat the game. So kind of like I've heard that criticism.
Okay.
But yeah, same thing. I was never into like the Batman games.
The Arkham game.
Yeah, so I wasn't drawn to this. Like, I wasn't like a console buyer for me. Like, Last of Us 2 is probably gonna be the other one where I might pull the trigger, but like that's gonna be the end of the console cycle. So why am I even gonna get that?
Yeah.
But regardless, yeah, it's like if it's your cup of tea. If you like Marvel superhero games, this is a perfect game for you. But if you like the Batman games and you're looking for a new game that's like Batman, you're probably gonna get almost a similar experience.
Yeah.
But with a Spider-Man body.
I got two more on this list. September 11th, which is Tuesday. Is NBA 2K19. So the 2K version of somewhat popular sports franchise. I think if I remember correctly, I think like Live has kind of overtaken them a little bit. Or maybe it's the other way around. I honestly don't remember.
At the moment, from what I've heard, 2K is the superior game.
It is? Okay.
It's like PES FIFA, but like it's a lot closer.
Okay. And then last but not least, a game that we were talking about before we started recording has no hype around it whatsoever. I didn't even realize that it was coming out until I had to look these up for our podcast. September 14th, which is next Friday, is the launch of Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
That game's going to get... Well, it's a good thing it's coming out this month. If it came out next month, it would have got buried. So...
Yeah, and you may remember this as being the game that was leaked because some dude was like reading the script or something on a train.
Yeah.
And someone saw it and took a picture of his like iPad screen, and it was like, "Oh, Shadow of the Tomb Raider." Like, it's like, wow, dude, great job. Good job keeping that a secret.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really. It's really hard to do that these days, unfortunately, in video games. That's why they have like the code names and whatnot. Even for like the voice actors, they don't even tell you what video game you're doing. You're like, oh, you have to play this character or someone like that, and then you won't even know until the game comes out if you're actually in that game. So
wow,
it's pretty secretive.
Yeah.
No, they have. There's been voice actors
for like the smaller ones, smaller parts.
No, in general. There's a girl voice actor that I think it was an Unfiltered podcast maybe, where she talked to McCaffrey and she talked about how she was one of the screaming girls in Grand Theft Auto and she didn't know she was in Grand Theft Auto until it came out.
Yeah, but that's like a really low level part.
Well, yeah, but I mean even like some
like
of the bigger
the
parts.
dude that voiced Trevor did not know that he was in.
Yeah,
Grand
but it
Theft
depends
Auto.
on like he's an actual like a little bit higher.
Well, yeah,
on the totem pole than her, but like it just depends.
All right. Anyway, those are your releases, TVs, movies, and video games for. I guess really, kind of caught us up in like so far in the month of September. So going forward, it'll be like the week in front of us whenever we put the podcast out.
Yes, we will have Josh coming in for you next week, I believe, right? Or is that now?
Well, I leave Wednesday, so I can record one more before I leave, probably.
Okay, and then we will have Josh after that then.
Yes.
If not, the next episode after that. Dun dun dun, because you're in
Missouri.
Missouri.
All right, let's get into it.
Boom, boom, boom.
Let's do it.
Jacob and me. Call of Duty beta. Battlefield 5 beta. I think the Call of Duty beta is out right now, right? Or no, is it the 11th? I think it's the 11th. You have to pre-order on the 11th.
Well, it already happened once at least.
There's a new one
I did play it already.
that they're gonna do. That you
got to get it right. It's the private beta.
It's a pre-order beta.
The beta's rank is private.
Okay.
Get it?
No. Anyways.
No, I mean that's literally what it's called, I think.
Okay, but regardless, so you played the Call of Duty beta like about a month ago now,
I think like 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks.
And then the Battlefield beta is going on as we speak.
It is.
So you've had your hands in both pots.
I have.
I've only had my hand in one pot,
but with both hands.
Both
hands in one pot.
I'm not talking about like a pot full of poo poo that I love touching.
Okay.
All right.
Didn't need to go there, but okay.
That's too bad.
All right. Yeah, so I got to spend a full weekend with the Call of Duty beta because the friend that I file share with pre-ordered it. Not because I chose to go play this, but I decided to try it. Call of Duty is obviously something that we all played, like the Modern Warfare, Modern Warfare 2, the first couple Black Ops, like that sort of era. And then like I think all of us have kind of fallen off a little bit with like I almost said Infinity War. Infinite Warfare, Advanced Warfare,
I played
Black Ops 3, Ghosts, COD Ghosts, stuff like that. For me, this was actually a little bit of a return to form for Call of Duty. There's no like running on walls and no jetpacks and no. There are a couple like individual class abilities that do allow you some of those abilities, but it's not just like, oh, everyone can just run around wherever kind of thing, which I really enjoy. It's faster paced than just about anything else that it competes with in like the FPS genre. They did divide up. You can customize your loadout still, but you then can also pick. There were, I believe, 10 different classes, and so now you have like a mini super and a super. Like in Destiny, how you can like, depending on as you're getting kills and like completing objectives and stuff like that, you get like you build up a super and then you can use this like super powered thing. So there's like a low level version of that's basically just on a timer that you can use every so often. And then there is one where like if you accumulate enough points in the match, then you can use this like super.
Yeah, I'm not really into like the incorporation of like super stuff. I've never thought it kind of brought any depth to the game. I just feel like it makes things just more chaotic on purpose, I guess. But I guess you're a little bit more strategic, kind of grabbing on to like the low kind of thing where you have certain timers and whatnot for your abilities and your base shot, whatever you want to call it. So it kind of makes sense to put it into shooters, but I'm not really into that kind of like, that's not my cup of tea in a way for a Call of Duty game. My cup of tea was like last year's edition with the World War II, just bare bones. I feel like that's like close to what close to what I think a good shooter is. Not trying to throw all these like chaotic things. Like I don't like think of Destiny as a good shooter at all.
Okay.
It's like I don't.
Fair enough, I guess.
Like anything close to a Counter-Strike or to a Doom or a Quake, whatever you want to call it, or and then even to Siege, which I think is a different one, different type of shooter. But anything closer to those are like what I think are far superior.
Yeah, they also changed the way that the damage, not necessarily I guess the damage, but the healing works. So now you have like a little like thing that you inject yourself with to like initiate the healing process. You won't just like recover your health, like in older Call of Duties. Actually, I think World War II had something like similar where they did tweak the healing mechanism a little bit. They did have all of the typical game modes. There was like TDM, kill confirmed, domination, which they did tweak a little bit, but same concept, like capturing an objective. It felt a little bit more like I forget what the game mode is called in Destiny, where there's like 3 flags and you have to capture like each one, and like if you're holding
like Domination or King of the Hill,
that kind of concept, but it was like it was like a mixture of Conquest and Battlefield, where like you capture a point, then like it's captured, and like Destiny, where it's like this like ring you have to like area you have to stand in to be capturing, and you can like contest if there's like more than one person and like the same thing. It's like neither one of you are capturing it, basically, like that sort of thing.
I think it's Domination, but it's okay. It sounds like
Domination. No, it's a little different than like what the OG Domination was.
Okay.
But they were like, it was fine. One of my bigger gripes with Call of Duty is always the maps. It's like they all look different, but they all play the same because it's basically just lanes with like a couple paths in between. Each of the lanes, so like it's basically just like a 3, maybe 4 lane map. And it was definitely, that's how I felt in this as well. It was basically like the all the maps are very crowded. Like they all look very nice, but they all boil down to just like various lanes and spawns. So the spawning was a little bit rough in the beta too. It was pretty easy to get spawn killed sometimes.
I think the unfortunate kind of crutch that Call of Duty has, like that kind of lane or a map structure that just doesn't really really diverse at all. It's like kind of almost the same kind of stuff like you were playing back in Call of Duty 4, which is weird.
Yeah.
Like they always have like Wetworks. Like always have for some reason they always have to have like a shit map. I'm like, you guys can come up with anything else. Like, it's kind of a little frustrating. But I feel like the map structure for like a Call of Duty 4, like it was fresh, it was new, but like kind of rehashing everything and kind of changing the surroundings basically, I don't think is worth it. It's almost turned into like how a sports game is when you think about it. That like how the map like you're just really just playing the same maps with different guns.
Yeah.
Like you're just getting a roster update of guns.
Yeah, I guess. All the guns, you got to use there were like 3 or 4 guns available for each type. They're all fine. They all kind of feel the same to me. Obviously some of them are semi-auto, some of them are fully auto, stuff like that, but all the ones that are fully auto kind of felt the same. My probably biggest problem with it in the beta in general was that they removed your grenade from your loadout, unless you're willing to sacrifice your like mini super, the one that's on a timer. So I found it at times very difficult to deal with people who were camping like hard, because you couldn't flush anyone out with a grenade, unless you were willing to sacrifice that ability. But like I don't view that as a fair trade.
Well, it's still like beta. Like what you're gonna figure out, like they'll figure all that kind of stuff out at this time.
Yeah, I guess
to balance the game to make it playable. I still think like Call of Duty it's a great shooter if you literally have no friends. It's like the perfect shooter to play. I feel because like you can just jump in and play. I love playing deathmatch by myself, or whatever free for all. Like it's easier. It's fun to come in and just jump in by yourself and try to be like a top 3 player in the lobby or whatnot. And
yeah.
The lobbies are always like clean. My problem too is like my gap in online play from like I think I stopped playing at Modern Warfare, Black Ops, to where and then the other ones I kind of sprinkled myself in. Like I would like borrow the game or pick it up and then return it because I was like I'm not really down for this. And then I wouldn't play like the online as much as I used to. And then so I kind of like lost like what was going on. Like starting from what was the one before World War II called? The one with
That was Infinite Warfare.
Yeah,
I think.
like
the one with Conor McGregor and
what's his name? The dude from the Game of Thrones.
yeah,
Game of Thrones. I can't even remember.
Kit Harington.
Kit Harington. Yeah, like the way that was all structured and whatnot. And I was like, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. I don't know about crates and whatnot. I'm just like, can I just like play one class or play, and then I unlock as I level up. Like, I would like that a little bit more. Just that, not that I think it's not confusing or it's more confusing. It just I want it to be more of the resemblance of that. But that's just me being old.
That game was too much of a step towards Destiny for me, where it was like everyone had like little jetpack boosts. You could like run along on the walls. That was like a bit of like a shock to me the first time I played that game. I was like, wow, this is like not at all the Call of Duty that I remember.
Yeah, it just Call of Duty mechanics mixed in with that kind of.
Yeah, but this is definitely a step back towards like I would say more like the later, like a Black Ops 3, maybe like Advanced Warfare sort of like type of Call of Duty. It's definitely still not like how it used to be, especially with all the like classes and supers and stuff like that they've added in now. And I think if I remember correctly, there's also a little bit of like Rainbow Six Siege element where like you can't there's like 10 classes available and you have 6 people. Like in a TDM game, you have 6 people on your team, and like no one can take the same class as anyone else.
Oh, that's kind of interesting.
If I remember correctly, that's there is some sort of limit. Like you can't just have like 6 people that are all the same. So maybe it's 2. It's 1 or 2. So like you can't like have like a whole team of one class basically.
That's not as fun because you can like pop up. I mean, that makes you forces you to kind of be a little bit more diverse. I kind of like that.
Yeah. So anyway, it was I had an okay time with it.
Mm.
It was better than I expected, but I also had very low expectations of it in general. Just because like I've had kind of bad experiences with the last few Call of Duties.
I would every time any new game now. I even have low expectations for Red Dead Redemption, but that's just me.
All right, then.
I'm a real person.
Moving on to Call of Duty's most direct competitor, I would say.
Titanfall.
Well, yeah, I guess. Going on right now, as of recording this weekend, is the Battlefield 5 beta. Battlefield was delayed by 1 month to November 20th, I believe. Last week, they announced that it was going to be delayed so that they could like use the feedback from the first closed betas to make changes to the game. A little bit concerning for me because I think like the point that I brought up to you was like how often are like annualized franchises delayed like that.
I think it was a good strategic move for me in my book. I felt like they needed to avoid Red Dead and avoid Call of Duty.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I get the point where people are saying like, well, people play both of them. I'm like, yeah, but when you look at it, that whole jam-packed area, like not everyone's going to have the money to buy all those games.
Yeah, I just don't see Battlefield and Red Dead as being competitors.
Yeah, but they're not. But
it's like
you're still like, okay, I want to play this game this week and then another game. Like, you want to buy what comes down to it like a lot from growing up like, in high school and stuff. Like, you're like, sometimes you don't get the game those games every week. So
yeah, I understand. There's people that like can't afford. That's the only thing that like to me that's the only argument is that like people don't have the money to buy that many games in a row because it would basically be I think like a 3-week stretch where it was like Call of Duty, the next week was Red Dead, the next week was Battlefield. So from that point of view, it definitely makes sense. But from Call of Duty and Battlefield have basically always launched against each other.
Yeah, but I think this Red Dead is like a different kind of beast in there because you're gonna get everyone to buy that game. I feel
that's why I don't think they needed to move. It's like everyone's getting Red Dead.
You think
the competition is Battlefield and Call of Duty.
I think they would have lost. I think they would have they would out of those 3 they would have lost the most.
Yeah, I guess. It will end up in their benefit. That
because I mean
that they moved because like there's only a couple things that come out in November, and then in December it's basically just Smash, which they're not competing against anyway because it's like just people who have Switches.
Yeah, what called Fallout?
Fallout will be before them. I think Fallout's early November before this.
So They got time.
Yeah. So they'll have basically the last like 6 weeks of the year all to themselves.
Yeah, I think it's a smart move. I think it's a better move. I feel that right now playing the game, the beta, I had no problems with the beta. I felt like
Playing the beta definitely relaxed me a little bit about the fact that it was delayed because it feels like a finished game.
Yeah, like all the people I've been hearing that've been playing it before, like we got the beta, they've said like, yeah, the game's fine. Like still plays like Call Battlefield, and it's also like there's like little tweaks here and there, like but like that's because I'm like, oh, it's a beta. Like I can't expect this game to be a polished game, and then just my only like gripe is like just graphically because like everything just like looks like glass sometimes. That's like me. I don't know.
Okay.
But that's like a weird gripe that I've always had. But yeah, I mean, it's not a game like I said, if you play by yourself, I would get Call of Duty. If you don't play by yourself and you have a group of friends, I would go in the Battlefield route.
Yeah,
it's better.
I've really enjoyed my time in Battlefield, but like I had it available to play, I guess, before like you guys got on, and so like, and I told you before we were recording that like I view Battlefield as like a team sport, and so like I don't like playing that game by myself. I don't like being in like a random squad because it's something where like you can really dominate that game if you have just like a little bit of coordination, and like that's something that you don't need in Call of Duty really, if you're just like jumping into matches. So I felt like, especially with the game mode types where it's like not just like TDM, like they are objective based game modes. Like I don't enjoy playing by myself. So we were like, we had, I think I did play a couple games with Joshua. It was like just 2 of us. But like for the most part, all the time that I spent was like 3 or more people to a squad.
Yeah, because one squad can really change. Because I know there was one game where like literally we're just circling around the map, capturing points.
Yeah.
And then just mowing through people. That's all we were doing. And I was just like, dude, what the hell is our team doing?
Yeah.
And like one squad can literally carry the team.
And it really helps too if you have like 3 or 4 people in a squad and like all of you also pick different classes, and we can just like all help each other.
Yeah. And then playing by yourself is like, it's very frustrating because of the coordination like that.
Yeah.
And then you can get into a party where you have 4 guys with all the same class, and it's like, what the hell?
Or you get like, like when Josh and I were playing together, like our other 2 teammates were both snipers, and like so they're like doing nothing.
Yeah,
they're like basically nothing but spawn points.
Yeah, I think sniping in that game is totally useless.
It's just they've completely changed it.
I'm sorry.
It's not like the sniping classes now. I always really enjoyed Battlefield because sniping was a skill. It was like lead your target. There's bullet drop. So like you had to account for bullet drop, whether that meant like aiming above the guy and like watching where your bullet went, or adjusting the calibration of your scope so that you didn't have to do that. And now it feels like Call of Duty sniping. It's just like, oh, there's a guy. The auto aim, it helps you a lot. The only thing that I wish is that the snipers did more damage, more like base damage, because it's only like 45 to 55 for like a shot square to the chest, and then like a headshot is a kill. So like I wish there was a little bit more damage. I wish it was like 70 to 80.
I wish it was just like a bleeding out thing if you got shot by a sniper. I think I would like enjoy that a little bit better. I think it would make it more intense.
Well, if you don't get headshot, there kind of is a bleeding out thing. Like that's because like you can get revived or whatever.
Yeah,
that is your bleeding out thing.
But I meant like while you're alive, like you're losing health unless you do like if you like.
Stop I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
Hold yourself or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
The game as a whole, I really enjoyed it. There was like some classic conquest, and then there was Grand Operations or something like that. I think it was called. I played
a little bit of that.
I really enjoyed it because it adds like an actual historical like story element to basically conquest.
Yeah, I'm not really into it as much.
Okay.
Yet maybe I need to play it a little like the full version of it. But playing it was just like weird. I don't know. It didn't feel natural.
Yeah. And then there was, I forget what the game mode was called, but there was one where there was like I think 6 or 8 points on the map, and like you just had to like capture as many of them as you could, kind of like domination. But that's not what they were calling it.
It's like Conquest and
yeah, I don't.
To me, it's all the same. Actually, it feels like it's all the same in a way, but I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. So yeah, I think the gun play felt really good to me. There was like where Battlefield still varies from a lot of the other shooters is that there's actually like recoil and such for like a lot of, especially the automatic weapons. The progression So basically, you get to like use the in-game currency to get abilities for your class. There's like a little like kind of like tech tree sort of thing, and they do become mutually exclusive at like level 3. So like once you get to the 3rd level, like you pick a side and it like takes you down opposite ways. So you have to be a little bit selective as to like how you want to approach it for like each gun. So like you can rank, as you have been for a long time in Battlefield now, you can rank up each of your guns independently.
I feel like though the maps are a little bit smaller than usual Battlefield maps. Because I always felt like the Conquest, like I'm like, oh man, I gotta go all the way over there. Jesus. But for this, it's like
I think what
everything's
makes it
within walking distance.
what makes it different than like the modern set Battlefields is that there's no way to travel that far quickly. That's why I think it's different. Like there aren't like vehicles and stuff. Like there are tanks and planes, but like not to the. It's not like Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 where it's like you can just like
all the way back to
hop into a transport and like drive 10 miles to the next thing.
Yeah, there was a game mode where like it was like a conquest game mode in a way, I think, and then it moved it moved around the map. Like that's how big the maps were. Like you had enough area to have like all this space and all these vehicles, but then it would change every time. And then like whenever that area closed, you like everyone had to get out of that area within a certain amount of time and then move into the next.
They still have that. That's exactly how the Conquest still works.
Okay.
It's like you take the 2 points, and except this time they can take the. So instead of in old Battlefields, it was like you plant a bomb and destroy it.
Yeah.
Now it's like capture.
Yeah.
It's like you can capture it, but if you don't capture the other one before the other team captures it back, then like it doesn't matter. Like you have to hold both simultaneously, and then it moves. It does the same thing.
Oh,
so
it's like a tug of war.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. I got you.
Although it will like they can't. The defending team can't push you back.
Yeah.
So like once you capture both, then that sector is yours, the attackers, and like then you move to the next thing like you do in Rush. So like it'll put a little circle on your screen wherever there's an enemy if they're like it's still in your territory, and so like you'll be able to, you know where everyone is until they get back into their own territory. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed my time with the Battlefield thing.
Yeah, I think Battlefield is one of the stronger games I'm good at, or one of the games I'm like really strong in. I guess I'm like always, at least I'm not like bragging, but I feel like confident to say like I'm always like a top 5 player, sometimes a top 3. It's just like it's more team motivated. And
well, it's just like you can genuinely feel like you are contributing without killing people.
Yeah,
that's part of what I like about.
But
Battlefield.
but I'm not like I don't have like a negative death counting.
No. So I know. But like you don't like we normally when we're like playing with our friends, like we're normally top squad, and it's like, but it's not necessarily kills. Like we're not running around killing a whole bunch of people. It's like we're accomplishing objectives, we're destroying vehicles, we're like getting points for like resupplying teammates and like healing people, reviving people. Like you can do like basically whatever you want in Battlefield and have a good time and be productive.
Yeah,
like, for your team.
Yeah, I feel like because I was squad wiping people and I was like, damn, dude, I'm fucking good at this game. Dude. I still got it. I don't got my Call of Duty.
I still got it.
But when I played Battlefield, dude, I still got it. I was just mowing people down, dude. They didn't even see it coming. People don't understand flanking in that game at all.
Yeah, I know.
It's kind of pathetic.
Yeah.
But I think it's all the next generation of kids that are just getting like coming over from Fortnite or something. I don't know what it was, dude.
Taking a break from Fortnite to play Battlefield beta.
It was like sometimes it's just like this is too easy, dog. What is going on?
I guess speaking of Fortnite, the support class, you can actually build your own fortifications now.
Yeah.
You can like pile up sandbags basically.
Which is
and
the
like
most annoying thing right now.
Yeah, it is.
But it's an interesting tool. I think it's something that not was needed, but it was like, oh, this is a nice curveball. I got to go all around now. I can't go straight through the same point every time. Yeah,
so Call of Duty comes out within a month. It's like early October. I believe it's the 10th of October or something like that. Battlefield is November 20th, I believe. So let us know in the comments which one of those you're most excited for. Help us settle the Call of Duty Battlefield debate.
There's not really a debate.
Which Call of Duty always wins just because like they're the vocal majority. But Battlefield's a better game. Get good.
Yeah, there's a lot of struggling battle. Like I think like it's like football, baseball.
Sure.
No, like how like a football like we were eating lunch. You're like a football player going to baseball is not going to be as good as football, like as in football with a baseball player going. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do know what you mean.
So it's like a cross thing where like
that was my argument.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, that's like for me, it's like those two shooters.
So you think a Call of Duty player is not as good as Battlefield as a Battlefield player is at Call of Duty?
No, it's like both ways. Like a Call of Duty player switching over to Battlefield or playing Battlefield, who is mainly a Call of Duty player, isn't going to be as good.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
And then it didn't sound right.
All right.
But regardless.
I think we're on the same page.
Okay, yeah, that's what I meant.
All right.
To me, it's like two different games. Like they're like shooters, but they're not really like the same at all.
Yeah, but they are. I agree with you that they are very different, but they also directly compete with each other and compete in that genre for like mind share and market share.
But I think like Battlefield's more of it appeals more to an older audience than
That's true.
than Call of Duty.
Moving on. A couple weeks ago now, I think it's been a little while. Folks over at CD Projekt Red put out they did like a live stream initially of the gameplay demo that they showed all of the press at E3. It was about 50 minutes worth of gameplay of their new game, Cyberpunk 2077. So we're going to talk about that for a little bit. You got to watch both of us have watched the whole thing, I believe, right?
I watched most of it. I didn't watch like every second.
Okay.
But
What'd you think?
Well, they've been working on this game for a long time. First off, I think they've been working. It was in production or pre-production like a year or two before Witcher actually came out, which is like that long ago.
Oh wow. Okay.
So yeah, from how long they've been working on it, yeah, this is like closer to what I thought it was going to be. I didn't think there was going to be coming out this soon, like something like that. They're like, F it, look at our cool game, and then I was like, oh wow, this interesting. I think gameplay wise, it looks like a lot of fun. I'm gonna be a little skeptical on like a role playing first person game, but we'll see how it goes. I'm not really all that enthused about it and that kind of I like when I play a role playing game. I like being in third person. I like seeing like what I'm wearing and whatnot.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like I like the role playing kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. That's just me. But playing in first person, it's gonna be interesting. I think it's gonna cater to a lot of shooters, which is I think is gonna be a good audience chunk that they're gonna get out of, like from whatever Call of Duty, Fortnite guys that are gonna come over and try to play this game. I think it's gonna appeal to those kind of people. But it was interesting. I didn't think it was gonna be that. I didn't think it was gonna look that good. I don't think the game. For release, I think they said it's gonna be a cross. Like it's gonna come out when the end of this console cycle, and it's gonna.
Yeah, I think it'll be a launch game for like the next round of consoles.
What I'm hoping though is like they have like they're already prepared to release the game, like its own version in a way on this console cycle, but also have like the actual updated version.
I don't think it comes out that soon. I don't think it comes out soon enough for I don't think this game will come out on Xbox One and PlayStation 4.
We'll see. I don't know. Cause it's already seems like a pretty not done. I think some companies would probably release it because they were like, "Oh yeah, it looks good." Yeah.
No. Where I would be skeptical of that is that, like, it's very possible that basically only an hour of the game is that done. Does that make sense? Like that was like just a vertical slice, and like they have that portion of the game very polished.
Yeah, I think Josh said that like, the whole game is not basically like finished in the sense of like build, I guess.
Okay.
Or constructed.
Yeah.
It's just like now they're just polishing it up and whatnot. And
what did you think of like the environment and like the city and stuff like that?
Yeah, it looked cool. Like NPCs look. I think that's like like a lot of people say like that's going to be like the future of gaming right there. Like how that all interacts and how you interact. I think this game is going to force other games to step their game up. I think, in my eyes, if this game has, if not just as good or a better commercial success as The Witcher, like CD Projekt Red is almost in the same realm as Rockstar in quality of games.
In quality of games, sure.
Yeah, not in sales. It won't even get
okay.
in sales.
All right. Yeah, fair enough.
That's because CD Projekt Red has only been around for so long. So I think Rockstar has like a big legacy and a big history of games that have been really successful and reliable.
I really enjoyed what they showed. I think that it's ridiculously beautiful. The environment gave me vibes of like Blade Runner, 2043 was it the name of that?
Blade
the new
Runner.
one?
There was
The
that
new Blade Runner movie.
There was a weird movie that was like in this like weird hospital with like Jodie Foster and Batista. It was a weird. I forgot what it's called. It just came out, and I don't. know
Hotel.
So,
It had Jeff Goldblum in it, right? Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That's also what it reminded me of, like a weird futuristic like mercenary kind of world.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
I really enjoyed. I guess they didn't really get to demonstrate it, but from what the guy was saying during the gameplay was that like there were a whole bunch of different ways that you could have gone about like completing each objective throughout the course of this mission, and like that your choices will have ramifications on like the story as a whole. So like those are always things that I really like to see, where it's just like diversity in the gameplay depending on decisions you make, even like early on in the game.
Yeah, it's also based on your style and how you like. That's what like is interesting, and see how this.
So there was like a run and gun option that you could like try to talk your way out of it. You could you could do like stealth and like steal what you needed. There were like all these different things. And then, like, depending on the choices you made, it affected not only the rest of that mission, but they were implying that it would impact the rest of the campaign, or like the single player.
I'm hoping like there's really no online play or any kind of online like anything going on in this game. Period. For me, like I just wanted that to be a single player experience, regardless of how good the mechanical.
Yeah,
like,
I
the
guess
shooting mechanics are. Like I don't want online to touch any of this.
I share your concerns a little bit about it being a like a first person RPG, especially given the fact that. Like your upgrades are basically technological modifications to your body, and so like you're not gonna be able to, except for your arms, like holding the guns, you're not gonna be able to like see any of the changes that you're making to your character unless you're in a cutscene.
Yeah, that's.
So like I didn't really like that. And then there was a point probably about 2/3 of the way through the gameplay, where they were like, oh, we're going to turn up we're going to play this now as if, you're like a high-level character with all these abilities. And then what concerned me a little bit was it turned into this game where, like, you can bounce bullets off whatever you want. You can have a gun where you don't need to aim. It curves the bullets for you. They were just, like, it got too extreme for me. Like, to the point where I'm afraid that it's not going to be challenging.
Bullet storm.
Yeah, well, kind of, yeah. Like it got to the point where I'm afraid that it's not going to be a challenging game, like mid to late game. Once you start getting these abilities, where games always fall apart that have stuff like that is that the AI can't compensate for how powerful you are.
Yeah.
Like there's not a counterbalance.
I can agree and disagree with that. My problem was I want the difficulty to where it's beatable, but like I don't want it to be like a Dark Souls. Not that I hate Dark Souls.
Oh, I love it when it's like a good challenge.
I can't respect a Dark Souls game anymore. For me, yeah, I'm sorry. It's
you don't want to you don't just want to hit B and keep rolling around the guy until he messes up.
Well, that and plus like the game respects 0 of my time, so I'm good. I'm not gonna give it.
You gotta respect Dark Souls for Dark Souls to respect your time.
I ain't gonna give it another cent. I ain't gonna give it another time. We're gonna have to play it for.
But stuff like
College Avenue.
Stuff like that is so satisfying when you beat it, though.
Not for me.
I rage quit Dark Souls 3 for 3 months.
Yeah, that's you, though.
And then I came back. I was like, no, I'm not going to let Dark Souls 3 beat me. I'm going to beat Dark Souls 3. And what did I do? I came back. I beat Dark Souls 3.
Yeah, it's just not my cup of tea. I'd rather play like a Skyrim or a Witcher than that.
See, but even those, like Skyrim, for example, if you turn Skyrim up to master, that game is unbeatable. It's almost unplayable as it gets so hard.
Well, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, but like I want it to be challenging. I want the abilities to like be cool and to help me fight better enemies, but like I don't want to be OP. And that really felt like that the abilities because it got to the point where the girl you were playing at, like you didn't even need to leave cover. It was like, oh, it gives you a visual outline of like where the bullets are gonna bounce, so you can just like, of course they get away with that because it's like, oh, you put like a new eye in that like helps you. You can like zoom and like track all these things. It's like fine, whatever. Like if you want to.
Bats.
Yeah, but it was like real time bats kind of. But like so she's bouncing bullets off of walls, and then like whenever she did step out of cover, she didn't have to aim. The bullets just like curved into the person. So like there's no challenge there. You're just holding the right trigger down.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's the only thing that concerns me. It seems like it's going to be a whole lot of fun. It seems like it's a very well thought out, deep world. Sorry, I cut you off in like the middle of what you were gonna
I'm
say.
just waiting to talk. I just I just want to say I just want to beat the game and that's it. I just want to finish the
Well,
game.
then play it on easy.
No, like it's not that. It's just like because like you said, you don't want to be. I don't want to be OP either. I'm just saying I want to be in between OP and having to totally struggle. I want to be right in the middle.
All right, fair enough. But
That's
I'm
all
very
I-
excited for this game.
That's all I ask.
I'm very
The only
excited.
game I've ever been satisfied beating on its hardest mode was Halo games because like those are the most satisfying to beat.
In retrospect, those weren't even that hard,
For me, were because I'm terrible at that game.
except for the Vidmasters. Don't
Those,
even. Oh
yeah,
my
yeah,
word.
those two, yo, those.
But that was a true challenge. And and when we got that recon armor at the
It's a
end,
different experience.
satisfying.
Though. It's a different experience though than any other game because you're doing it with friends. You're doing it together.
yeah, I guess.
But
that's
like
true.
I don't want to like doing it by yourself isn't the same. For me,
All right,
I'm
fair
not
enough.
satisfied.
Let us know in the comments below what you guys thought of the Cyberpunk gameplay and what you guys think of that game.
One last thing: when this game release, it's not going to be a perfect game. They're going to have to fix stuff. So shut up and not complain.
Yikes. Real quick, I'm going to look up I should have written down the price for the next thing that we're going to talk about here. So last but not least, Microsoft announced that they are going to have a monthly basically subscription or like a 2-year agreement that you have to sign where you pay a monthly fee and you get an Xbox One system, Games Pass, and Xbox Live Gold. So like basically they're allowing you to finance your Xbox, which might make it more reasonable for some people instead of like a one-time like $400 to $500 drop. So like the Xbox One X right now is $500. So like instead of it being like one big drop, like you're paying like 20. I think so for the Xbox One S. Let me make sure I got this right real quick. Games Pass will cost either $21.99 or $34.99 a month, depending on the console chosen. So the $21.99 version is for the Xbox One S, and the $34.99 per month version is the Xbox One X. And then this comes with Xbox Live Gold and Xbox Games Pass, which is a great deal because that you get like more than 100 games like right off the bat.
Is there like a way to like put like a actual like down payment onto it before you start even doing it?
Not that I know of.
Because that'd be cool if like, oh hey, like I'm saving up money. I have $200 on me right now. Can I put $200 on it and then, still pay that rate that they're doing, and then maybe it'll pay off sooner? That's what.
I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
I just want to pay.
No, I think you have to. I think
in my eyes, I would want to pay it off sooner.
I think the 2-year agreement, like you have to agree to pay at that interval. I don't think you get like.
I'm pretty sure you
any
could
sort
probably
of
maybe pay ahead of time or something like that.
Possibly, yeah.
There's probably they would. I mean, I don't think Microsoft would not want to take your money. So
Yeah.
it's a good deal.
Yeah, I think it is a really good deal.
It's consumer friendly. It might sell consoles more, maybe. I don't know. Maybe 1 million more.
I think if they keep this generation's already gone.
Yeah.
Like Xbox lost.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like probably more than double the PS4s out there than there are Xbox.
Yeah, it's like a 2-to-1.
So, but if they were to keep, like, say, the next Xbox comes out, and I don't know, it'll probably be $500, maybe $400 to $500. I'd say it's probably guaranteed to be $400 to $500. So, like, and then they have like a monthly plan that's like $35 a month for the newest Xbox. Like, that's where I think they're gonna benefit the most. I think this is a good testing ground as like a lot like Games Pass itself and a lot of the community-driven things that they've added to Xbox Live recently. And just like all the quality of life updates that they've had, like they're all leading towards like all of those being implemented simultaneously with the next generation. So I think that this is just like the next thing, where like if they have a plan like this for the next Xbox, then that's gonna be like I think really helpful to them to gain that market share.
Yeah, they're setting themselves up with the last like 12 months have been just nothing but kind of a build up for like the next generation, and also testing it, like basically testing up like their build up, not only in like the studios that they've opened and bought, but also just these like little consumer friendly moves that they've been doing like the last
Right.
12 months have been
Yeah.
m-
There are a
making up
couple.
for it for me. But yeah,
There are a couple of constraints on the subscription plan, and this I'm reading this from a Seattle Times article. So you can go read that. I'm sure it's all over the place at this point, like the information.
spread them papers.
As of right now, this monthly plan is only available in the United States, and you have to actually go to a Microsoft store to sign up. And then it says signups are only available for an unspecified limited time. So, like I said, this sounds very much like a beta for what will hopefully be something that's available to us when like the next generation rolls around.
Yeah, because I'm getting when Battlefield 5 comes out with the S console bundle, I'm gonna get that, upgrade that, and turn my other Xbox in.
Very
So-
good. And I have an X already, and I had saved up to drop that $500. Like I have a day one, like Scorpio edition
We
Xbox
get a day
One
one
X.
Xbox.
Yeah, I also did have a day one Xbox One. So like I'm probably not someone that would use something like this because it is cheaper just to buy it. But yeah, I mean I think that it's a good deal for people that don't have like that lump sum available to them.
Yeah, I think when my sneaky plan, what I'm gonna try to do for the next generation is get 3 pre-orders on Xboxes at 3 different GameStops, and then
Scalp.
sell 2 of those to pay
Scalper.
off that one, and then make some money off that. I have a buddy that used to do that, or for this past generation.
Yeah, what was worse about
he literally put like a pretty big down payment on his new car. He's got like somehow he got on his hands on 5 PS4s and like 4 Xboxes, and like made a huge profit margin on those. I was like, Jesus Christ. He's like, yeah, dude.
those had come out right before the holidays too, so
Yeah.
it was like there was a rush.
Well, it was not even that. It was just like he got the consoles. You know, the base price was like $500 for the Xbox, and then he was like, "Okay, give me what are you gonna offer me?" And like people were giving him double, because like they just couldn't get their hands out. They just wanted it as soon as
Yeah.
possible. And so people are that desperate. I'm like, Jesus.
Yep. All
Yeah.
right, well, that's it for our regularly scheduled programming
Mm-hmm.
for Jacob and me.
Me. Nothing really for sports, because college football is going on right now. There's only like one big game, really, in my eyes. It's a couple actually. South Carolina's playing Georgia, or played them this morning.
USC Stanford is this weekend too. I
Yeah,
think, right?
that was the game I was thinking of. Nothing too big scores. As of right now, I think South Carolina did lose. Clemson's playing Texas A&M. Michigan already won. Boise State doesn't play till later. Yeah. Oh wow, Georgia destroyed South Carolina. Well, that game's over. Yeah. Maybe the Penn State Pitt game might be interesting because Penn State struggled last week. But other than that, there's nothing really. NFL season starts. I'm super stoked with my fantasy teams. I think, yeah, that Thursday game was pretty boring, but
Yes, it was.
yeah,
It was like 6-3 through the third quarter.
Yeah.
It's like, y'all know what sport you're playing?
yeah. I think the most interesting game this week to watch though would probably be, if you can, I would say the Browns Steelers game. It would be an interesting game to watch.
To see how many games the Browns are going to lose this year?
No, just to see what these new changes for the Browns, what kind of impact they're gonna have on
Alright.
them, and to see the Steelers without Le'Veon Bell, because I have James Conner on my team. So let's move. Let's keep moving. You want to do history?
Oh yeah, let me pull that up. Duh. I really should start writing that down in like the section underneath Pennsylvania Avenue,
Mm-hmm.
because I always like just forget that it's there. Let me pull it up.
He's pulling up history. Yesterday was Queen Elizabeth I's birthday. She was born in 1533. Also was the day the Germans started bombing London in the attack called Blitz.
See, I saw that thing on that was Colin Sweet. I had the Battle of Britain on here, but where I got mine from, which was historynet.com.
I tweeted it on the College Avenue tweeter.
Oh, okay. It said that it was like that was the peak of the Battle of Britain, and then like after like that
Yeah.
wasn't like the actual start of it.
The start of it was in June.
Okay, yeah.
But I think in between July and August, the Germans started hitting civilian targets on accident, and so the British had a couple air raids on Berlin, and then as a result, Hitler got really pissed off and were then targeting civilians on purpose after that.
Okay. This week in history, running from Sunday, September 9th.
Are we doing 2 weeks?
No.
Okay.
I skipped last week.
Okay.
Screw
you last week.
I made an executive decision. Well, if we want to jump back, last week, the only thing off the top of my head that I know, September 1st, 1939 was basically the start of the actual official start of World War II. It was the Nazi invasion of Poland, September 1st, 1939. I kind of made an executive decision just to skip last week because I wanted to make the two like weekly overviews like line up. So I just skipped last week by executive order because I'm the president of this
Alabama
podcast.
Governor George Wallace halted school integration at the Tuskegee High School with state troopers.
There you go.
September 2nd.
Are you ready? That week is dead. I'm moving on.
Truman declared victory J-Day. Or VJ Day.
Oh, victory in Japan.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Napoleon III surrendered to the Prussians,
Sure.
who is actually his like great nephew.
Yes.
Atlanta was captured by General Sherman's army.
Okay.
That's it. That's all I have.
All right, cool.
That's really interesting.
Moving on. September 9th
September 9th.
in history.
In history.
September 9th, 1776.
Oh, that's an important year.
It is kind of an important year, yeah. The Continental Congress adopted the term United States to replace the term United Colonies. So this was like the first day where we were officially the United States.
It would have been weird to be called a colony because I feel like colony isn't like it's not.
It implies dependence.
Yeah, but also it implies like kind of like what the European Union kind of sounds like. Like
Sure. Okay.
I guess like we call ourselves in the past like the Union or whatever you want to call it.
Well, yeah. Yes.
But like it doesn't seem as together as United States sounds. The United States sounds solid. Colonies sound like there's little gaps in there.
Okay.
Those two O's.
No, yeah.
Those two O's in colony. Gaps.
Okay.
If you can see, I got two O's on my eyes.
All right. September 9th, 1850. The state of California becomes a state. That sentence didn't make sense. California becomes the 31st state in the Union. September 9th, 1926. The Radio Corporation of America creates NBC.
Fake news.
Dust.
Peacocks.
September 9th, 1942.
Peacocks.
Very interesting little tidbit of history that
42?
Yeah, 1942. That like most people, the average person doesn't really realize. September 9th, 1942, a Japanese float plane launched from a submarine bombs a forest in Oregon. Brookings, Oregon.
I think I've heard that story.
Also very similar thing where it's like we found a zero in Alaska kind of thing. It was like Japan genuinely did try to like
yeah, didn't they say
scout it out.
They sent air balloons and stuff. Right?
Yeah. But like a lot of people don't realize that. Yeah. September 9th, 1943, Allied troops land in Salerno, Italy, invading from North Africa. This was kind of the beginning of the end, although obviously Normandy was a much bigger deal, but it was like our first return to fighting on like the continent of Europe.
It was interesting I watched a recent documentary on after we captured Italy and how much we could have shortened the war in a way. by instead of doing the landing in France, we made the deal with Russia to go that way instead of going straight to Italy to Berlin, or in that general direction, because Stalin was like, "Yo, dog, come, yo, like I want land too." So it was interesting how we made that deal with them.
Yeah.
I think it was one of the several meetings at
The Yalta Conference.
Yeah, no, there was a different one. They had several of them.
Okay.
Like there's a couple secret ones. There's ones between just Churchill and FDR, and it was, I believe, it was Churchill and like the English trying to get them to go that way, and then the Soviet Union wanted them to go the other way. So.
Okay. September 9th, 1948, Kim Il-sung establishes the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, the North Koreans.
What a nice.
Well, what would become the North Koreans, I guess.
Nice set of words for a country
that's not democratic at all.
Yeah, doesn't describe it well.
Yeah. September 9th, 1965, the Department of Housing and Urban Development is established in the United States government.
What is it? What do they do?
They are in charge of housing and urban development.
Sounds like
basically, I think it's to some level construction, and then it's also legislation that like governs pricing and rent and stuff like rent control and like laws like that are like coming through the Department of Housing and Urban Development.
I got you.
And also probably like zoning laws and such. That would also be.
Everyone loves zoning in Orange County.
Yeah. September 9th, this is the last one for September 9th. September 9th, 1969, Canada's Official Languages Act takes effect. And this put English and French on a level playing field in the Canadian government.
Like how you close the door at the end of that. Lock it up.
Yeah.
Lock it up.
Not a whole lot going on September 10th. I only have a couple here. September 10th, 1623, the first recorded exports from colonies in North America of lumber and fur that were shipped to England from Virginia, or from like the Virginia area. And September 10th, 1914, the 6-day Battle of the Marne ends, which halts the German advance into France during the early days of World War I. September 11th, 1297, way back when, 800 years ago-ish, roughly. The Scots under William Wallace said they
Freedom! I'm sorry.
There you go. They defeated the English at Stirling Bridge because the English can take their lands, but they can't take their freedom.
Kind of like a Pocahontas kind of story on how they changed the age of the princess and him. They made her older than what she actually was.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
That's what I meant, sorry.
September 11th, 1786, the Convention of Annapolis begins. And their goal was to revise the Articles of Confederation. A lot of people don't realize that this convention never took place. This was actually the first constitutional convention. The famous one is the one in Philadelphia, because that's the one that actually gave us the Constitution. But the convention in Annapolis really never got going. There wasn't enough states present to hold a quorum. So, like, not enough people showed up, basically, to represent all the different states. And then they had to, James Madison and Jefferson basically had to beg George Washington to show up to the Philadelphia Convention so that they could guarantee that enough people would show up there for them to actually get done what they needed to get done.
Not enough pigeons.
Yeah, basically. Obviously, for us in the United States, September 11th, 2001 is probably, at least for our generation, like the most significant day in American history.
Yeah.
For since we've been alive. Coordinated terrorist attacks hit the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. Every year that this passes, it's just shocking to me how long it's been. That here we are 17 years later now. I don't think I'll ever forget waking up that morning before school and my dad having the TV on and then like him going to like get my mom because like it was like crazy what was happening on TV and like the disbelief.
Yeah, it was yeah, for all the West Coast kids, because I woke up, it was my grandma in her room, and then my sister walking out and saying like two planes crashed. Like they, for some reason, my grandma told her that two planes crashed in the White House or something. Our planes were crashed in the White House, but like all the weird reports going on and whatnot. But yeah, like everyone kind of has like that kind of moment. I mean, for me, that was like the first time I ever had like a moment where like, where were you during that time? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
everyone, like I have a vivid memory of that like morning waking up and like going into that room and then watching just the
Yeah, and it was like
terrible-
a super weird day at school because like we were all like really young. Like I think I was in first grade. So like having like kind of a weird day at school is just like because the teachers like kind of understanding, having like obviously a much better understanding than we did of like what happened, and then like the morning that I had like before school was like watching live on TV like when the second plane, because if I remember correctly, when I was like, it was my dad and I in the living room, like we turned on the TV and the first tower had already been hit, and then all three of us I think were out there like watching live on TV when the second tower was hit.
I didn't watch any of the live, like actually like watch it live.
And it was just crazy, but like at the time I don't think like I really understood what was happening. But like obviously my parents would have.
Yeah, the school environment for me too was weird. Like I don't think it even was even brought up. We just like had our daily plan, and like the teachers, I don't even know if she was like able to even to explain
and
it.
then like obviously Bush had Congress like give him the power to declare war, and I remember like later that's like within like a month of it happening, like we all wrote letters to like soldiers that were leaving to go to Afghanistan. And stuff like that. So it was, just something that's like a very vivid memory.
Yeah, even like that later that day too, because I was playing at football practice that morning or that night. The weird thing was, like I remember another like driving home from football practice and looking at the sky and seeing nothing there, and like it was super quiet. Like no planes flew. Like it was, like it hurt. Like now that it's hurting my head, like it gives me the chills to have to like think about that.
Yeah.
And like there was like no flights in like basically the world almost, it felt like.
At least they were, everything was shut down in the United States.
Yeah, but like it's not like everything was just like in pause.
Yeah.
Like that's how like crazy it felt.
I guess I didn't think to look or anything like that, but like right over, I guess kind of over where we are now, but like also like straight over my house is the normal landing pattern for like John Wayne Airport. So like I wouldn't have thought to look at the time, but like I constantly have like jets flying over, like passenger like airliners like flying over my house. Like I wouldn't have thought, but like there wouldn't have been any like at all, which would have been weird.
Like they kind of like line up on like the 55.
Yeah,
and then they set up. But that was a weird time. Yeah, because and then James just joined the service that winter before, and like I remember going out to Texas for his graduation and whatnot, and then finding out what he was gonna do, and then he didn't actually do it, and then him getting sent over, and like he was over there, we barely ever saw him. Like he went to did two tours in Afghanistan, 2 tours in Iraq. So
I also remember it was probably maybe a year or so later. We had like close family friends that moved to Virginia, and we went and visited them. It would have been 2002, so it would have been like about a year, because the Angels won the World Series while we were gone, so it was like literally like a year after, like a year and a month. And we visited the Pentagon like while the plane was not still there, but like the side of the Pentagon was still completely destroyed. And like so like we were like I stood outside the Pentagon like while like to like look at the side of that building like where the plane had hit.
Another crazy thing too is everyone had new, like the World Trade Center, like everyone that worked there, it was like almost like the diversity of people from different areas. Like I remember a kid, I think he was like in older grades. He had a cousin that was actually in the building. She passed away, unfortunately. But like everyone, like I felt like knew someone that had a family member there or whatnot, which was weird for me. Like talking to people, because like even when I went to football practice, I think someone had a family friend that was like a firefighter in New York or something like that. So I was like it's a lot. Our country's so big, but it's a lot smaller than when you actually look at it. Like you're not that far away from people that you know that were there and experienced that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And like one of our biggest YouTubers that I watch and I follow is Colin, and his dad was at Ground Zero working that night, and the way he describes everything is just like it gives me the chills, like to think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, obviously we've learned a lot since then, like crazy stories of heroism and providence and just like crazy things that happened leading up to that day. Like I think one of the pilots of the planes like got switched off the flight like the night before, like just like really crazy like stuff like that. A lot of crazy stories, a lot of really sad stories, obviously. A lot of lives were touched by that day.
Yeah, I think even there was people from the Kings organization
and continue
on
to be
that
touched.
plane,
Yeah,
too, which was like weird because like that's like right there.
Yeah, and continue to be touched, just like the like adverse health effects that like some of the survivors have had and some of the first responders have had. I know there's been like a really big problem with certain cancers and like mesothelioma and stuff like that with like firefighters and policemen who were like in the towers like when they collapsed and such. So yeah, it was really crazy.
Yeah,
day.
even like the movies made after that. You know that movie with Nicolas Cage and Michael Pena where they play the firefighters?
Yeah.
The military guy that comes in and finds them, he plays one of the guys in 12 Strong.
Oh, okay.
Which was interesting. I was like, what? Yeah, but no, it's just weird. Like a lot of people like not that like taking those roles, but they really want to kind of there's a connection there, I guess.
Yeah. So anyway, obviously like a very significant day for American history.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It wasn't, and like I mean, New York was like hit, but like not like we all felt like New Yorkers, but like everyone kind of felt that kind of just like what just happened.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, it was very like a tragic thing, but a very unifying thing. With like what happened in New York, what happened in Washington, the plane that went down in Pennsylvania, where like in all appearances, from what we know about it, like the passengers brought the plane down.
That was supposed to head to the White House.
Yeah, so something that could have been a lot more devastating even than what it was. But yeah.
And it has a big impact on air travel now. Like
the
biggest impact.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, there's been like obviously all sorts of changes made to like security and such. One last thing too that I guess that just kind of jumped in my head was like Bush's speech with the fire chief when they were like standing like where the buildings were with like the flag and the rubble behind him or whatever, standing on top of that like crushed like cab car basically. And like that speech that he gave. So it was like, yeah, something that really sticks. That a lot of things about like that day and like the week or so after like really stick out. Yeah. Moving on, September 11th, 2012, another maybe not. Maybe this event's just been more politicized, but like also very like sad day was the attack on the consulate in Benghazi.
Oh yeah.
Now 6 years ago now. So yeah, another kind of melancholy day or melancholy thing to add to the day. Yeah. September 12th, 1609, Henry Hudson, very famous explorer, sailed into what is now New York Harbor aboard his ship called the Half Moon.
He's kind of like buried in like under like the Lewis and Clark's kind of in a way too.
Kind of, although I feel like he has a bunch of like more stuff named after him, like geographically than almost anyone else.
But still, like it's still kind of buried in a way.
Yeah, and I know. September 12th, 1786, following, and kind of surprisingly so, following his defeat in the American Revolution, Lord Cornwallis is appointed Governor General of India. So, like, instead of kind of, like, being forced into retirement or, like, shamed, basically, out of office, not office, but, like, his position, he kind of was able to, like, pivot sideways and, like, move to literally the other side of the world.
Well, I don't think he wanted
because obviously, like, he had been the one that had surrendered. Well, he did not himself surrender to Washington, but Like he was the one in charge of the British Army when they surrendered at Yorktown.
Yeah, a lot of those generals didn't want to show their face again in England, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, not unfortunately, but you know what I mean. For their unfortunate
Right.
demise.
Yeah. September 12th, 1913, Jesse Owens is born. I tend to skip sporting related events when I go through this personally when I make these lists, but Jesse Owens I think is one of the most significant sporting figures in American history anyway. Most famous obviously for the 1936 Olympics in Nazi Germany, winning, I believe, if I remember correctly, 4 gold medals, and just like his, like all of the specifically African American athletes that went to Germany with like everything that was going on there, and like performing the way that they did. It was just like something that's a really awesome moment in American history.
That's also not just a big moment for Jesse Owens. That was actually a big moment for Adidas.
For Adidas?
Yeah. The shoes he wore were Adidas that Otto whatever, I forgot his last name, went specifically to him, snuck into like the village and like, hey, I've designed these shoes, would you wear these? And then he like tested them out, liked them, and then that's what he wore.
Interesting. I did not know that. Another little
put him on the map.
Interesting tidbit from like those 36 Olympics was that the gold medals from the 1936 Olympics have more gold than the gold medals from any other year, because Hitler was so confident that Germany was going to dominate the Olympics that he had the medals made with more gold. So like they're actually like, if you were to like say melt it down, it'd be worth, those medals are worth more. Keeping with Nazi Germany, I suppose, somewhat related to Nazi Germany, September 12th, 1919, a much younger Adolf Hitler joins the German Workers' Party. September 12th, 1940.
Created by Anton Drexler.
Don't remember his name, but
I know his first name.
Could be right.
It's a
yeah.
It's like a Drexler or something like that.
September 12th, 1940, Italian forces invade Egypt from Libya. There was a lot of... I feel like the North African theater was probably the most forgotten. And
it seems like the quickest.
Well, yeah, it was to some extent, but like with like Rommel and Montgomery down there, duking it out. Some of the biggest, most famous tank battles in the history of the world went on down there. Like, and then like you have like the Battle of El Alamein and stuff like that, with the Italians trying to force the British out of North. Like, had they taken Egypt, they would have more or less forced the British out of North Africa.
Yeah. That region's interesting. Like I just last year I read a book on the Middle East on how there's been a lot of European just presence there, and it was just like the different armies that have taken that place over.
Yeah,
it's Egypt specifically, but the whole place in general. But, yeah, that's just like one of the many battles that's have happened there. But yeah, interesting. Yeah, there's a interesting tidbit. What's it called? The guys from Fury apparently like that tank crew started in North Africa and ended up in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
They started, yeah.
My dad's dad served in North African and in Italy, like up through Italy once they invaded in through Italy. He was an engineer under Patton. He was responsible for like making bridges and stuff like that.
Did he ever like talk to Patton?
I don't know. Probably at some point.
That'd be cool.
Or at least like in passing.
That would I don't know. That for me, like that would be interesting being those guys' kind of presence. Even like Eisenhower, I'll be like, oh, that's Eisenhower, dog.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is me.
September 12th, 1990. Germany, I guess, coming up a lot on September 12th. The signing of the official documents reunifying East and West Germany is completed.
I think
it was like the U.S. and France and Britain and the USSR, and then East and West Germany.
I think it was the 7th of 99 was the first time a unified parliament of Germany had their first like meeting since Hitler, basically. So it was like a 50-year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which was like crazy. I was like, wow. Like, and it wasn't that far. 1999? Oh, my God.
Yeah. September 13th, 1788, the Constitutional Convention authorizes the first federal election in the United States. And September 13th, 1993, the Oslo Accords are signed at the White House, which granted limited autonomy to the region of Palestine. So it was they were signed at the White House. It would have been Clinton, I guess, at the time, 93. Yasser Arafat was representing the Palestinian Liberation, whatever, PLO, whatever it was. And then I don't remember who the Israeli prime minister was at the time. But yeah, so kind of significant for them, although there's obviously a lot of conflict in that region still.
Yeah, that's like another freaking fireball.
Yeah, it is.
It's
Yeah.
like there's a lot of history. A lot of history there.
September 14th, we got 2 more days here. September 14th, 1791, Louis XVI swears allegiance to the new French Constitution. September 14th, 1812, Napoleon's Grand Army reaches Moscow.
Well, the one before I was going to say.
Sorry. I did not mean to jump so forward.
He was like, that was all. What I've read, like Napoleon was actually in the area of all that kind of just weird stuff going on with Louis the 16th, I believe. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And how he described like I mean, it was a monarchy obviously, but like how it was kind of cruel on the way how they treated them in a way, like how he described it, because like he was like a higher person or higher class of person, and like I guess he had sympathy for the king, and like I remember him or reading some stuff where he was describing like how he felt sorry and like how it was like really like you can go about like taking over like a regime like that in a way, but like the way they did it was like he felt like it was unhonorable and like very like cruel. And then go back to like the Moscow one. What was the year again?
Yeah. So the Louis the 16th was 1791, swearing allegiance to the new French Constitution. September 14th, 1812, Napoleon's Grand Army reaches Moscow, and they find the city basically burned to the ground and abandoned, which is how they found most of Russia, because the Russians just burned everything down so that they would not be able to take supplies or anything as they were moving into Russia. And then eventually, obviously, the French kind of overextended themselves, and like there was a lot of casualties due to like starvation and disease and stuff like that, lack of supply, and that combined with the winter.
Yeah, he had everything down to like the exact rations for each soldier that he planned, which was like insane to even think about. Like this dude was like, for me, like I feel like he probably isn't, but for me, like as like a bigger figure in history, he's like the first military, whatever you want to call him, dictator or leader that like led an army but like never really fought in a way, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess.
And I mean he had some.
He was basically just like a strategist.
Yeah, but like he was like the first kind of strategist that was like a nerd in a way.
Yeah.
That like
the first analytical
but
general.
I mean, the schooling he did in his background was like only I think less than 10% of actual people that go to like their military academy at the time. I think it was like less than 10% people ever got into the program, and I think less than like 5 ever passed. And like Napoleon was like one of those few that did. And like it was whoever led men or troops, experts, and then after that it was, I forgot what it was after that one, and then it was artillery, and he was the guy that was like under that.
Yeah.
So like the artillery, whatever you want to call it, I forgot the actual terms for it. But it was interesting to like he was like the first like nerd, and how he would just have like, you know, like how you have conversations about like things you love, like that's what he loved to talk about, which is interesting. But that was like his earlier career. Like later on, he was like very very weird. Like I said, like you talk about how his social situation, he was like very much like the nerd of everyone. Like when you saw, you like, that's a nerd. it was just weird how people describe him.
Except you had to look down. That's a nerd.
Oh, he wasn't that short actually.
No, I know. He was like 5'6" or something like that. Right?
Everyone else, like his elite troops were 6 foot. They had to be like a minimum like 6 foot tall, and then they wore these high hats. So I was like, yeah, of course he's gonna look short.
Yeah. September 14th, 1814, Francis Scott Key writes the words to the Star Spangled Banner, while observing the Battle of Fort McHenry from the harbor. September 14th.
Yeah, but it wasn't the actual anthem until like way later.
Right. Yeah, it was basically a poem, and then it was set to music like later. Yeah. September 14th, 1847, U.S. forces capture Mexico City, effectively ending the Mexican-American War.
Interesting stuff.
Another one that I would say that and the Spanish-American War are like two that almost no one knows anything about. I mean, like of the general population, almost no one knows anything about.
Sherman was like one of the many generals. I think the leader of all that was Zachary Taylor, I believe. And then
I don't remember.
And then later, after on, became president because it's just he was like one of like the before after Jackson. He was Washington, like the general, but they didn't know his politics until he got into office.
Yeah.
Which is funny, but interesting stuff about that too. When all that land got basically taken up, all like most of those states from what I read, like specifically California, like were all declaring independence from as we invaded. They were declaring independence on Mexico, and like they were already taking over like the capitals until like I think for California specifically, we landed in San Francisco, which was called like Los Nova, and like we landed there and we're like, hey guys, guess you're Americans now. Like after 4 days after they took over the capital and whatnot, which was funny. But regardless of like us people saying we took the land from Mexico, that land would have since we went down there, that land they would have declared just like Texas did. So
yeah,
Mexico wouldn't have been able to control all that probably.
Yeah. September 14th, 1901, Theodore Roosevelt is sworn in as president following the assassination of William McKinley. He had been shot, I believe, 8 days earlier, if I remember correctly when I read this. He had been shot 8 days earlier and then died. And Roosevelt was his VP and was sworn into office following his death.
He didn't really have like much of a political career before that, which is interesting. I think during McKinley's first term, he was in the Rough Riders, I believe.
Yes.
And then by like the end of like whatever that year was, and then he was so popular, the next term, I guess McKinley's running mate didn't want to run, or he just wanted to change it up, and then was like, hey, you're really popular. You want to be my vice president?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was interesting too, because a lot of people try to do that. Like John Quincy Adams tried to convince Andrew Jackson to be his vice president, and then but
interesting.
he said no.
I didn't know
he was
that.
like, I want to do it myself.
I want to be my own president.
Yeah.
September 14th, 1960, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia form OPEC, which, if I remember correctly, is the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries.
Let's just call it making it rain party.
Yeah. September 15th, the last day that I have on our This Week in History. September 15th, 1588, the Spanish Armada is sunk by the British Navy. I would think, in the grand scheme of history, especially for that time period, one of the more significant days. It's probably, like, truly signified to the rest of the world that, like, it was a British world now.
Yeah. But I would say
the British had taken over as, like, the number one force in the world.
Yeah, after that, the United States, after World War II, I don't know which day you would want to choose on that. Would be another day that's very similar to that.
Yeah.
Where we just planted, you guys can't govern yourselves right, so we're going to put a base here, you Mongols. No, I'm just kidding.
September 15th, 1916, the British Army fields the very first armored tanks during the Battle of the Somme in World War One. Really interesting designs that they came up with. Basically, the only purpose, well, not only were they armored, and, like, yes, they did have guns, but, like, they were designed to, like, roll over the trenches. That's where you get, like, those tracks.
Until you broke down.
Right, yeah. So they were pretty unreliable. Obviously, it was, like, very early days in the
very
technology.
unsafe as well.
Yeah.
Like, the engine was in, like, think of you're in a car, and your engine in the car, and all the fumes are with you.
Yeah.
Like, people were, like, passing out.
And like very hot as well on the inside of this.
But like it very much changed the war because you were able to like you're just in the gunner and then you're just, hey dude, like your whole trench's gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was what ended the stalemates.
Yeah, basically. September 15th, 1928, Scottish bacteriologist Alexander Fleming discovers the medicinal uses for penicillin, which is very significant. Penicillin was like I believe, if I remember.
We did that one.
I don't think so.
Yeah, because penicillin was a mold.
Yeah, it is a mold.
Didn't we do that one like 2 weeks ago?
I don't think so.
I feel like we did.
September 15th, 1937, Neville Chamberlain, who was then Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, flew to Germany to discuss the fate of Czechoslovakia with Adolf Hitler.
He wasn't very successful, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, Neville Chamberlain is very famous for his policy of appeasement.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm sure that he kind of just gave Hitler Czechoslovakia.
Yeah. We are working on a cool World War II video, which won't be out for like a long time, but reading about all that stuff is like, how the hell did this dude get away with all this stuff? It's just like insane.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Treaty of Versailles, League of Nations are just a total just piece of poo-poo.
Yeah. September 15th, 1940, the Battle of Britain reaches its climax with like kind of a significant defeat to the German Air Force, the Luftwaffe, but like obviously at a very high cost to the British. But this defeat caused Hitler to postpone what he called Operation Sea Lion, which was his planned invasion of the British Isles.
Yeah, since I've been reading up on that recently, doing all that research, it was interesting because like at the time when that all started, Germany wasn't even prepared. They weren't even trained. They didn't even have any kind of vehicles ready to even do it. And like, oh, we'll just bomb the hell out of them. But like, it was insane, like how outnumbered the British were. It was like 600 to like, I think it was 1,300 planes. So it was like a 2-to-1. But like, just a superior, I guess, planes. From what I read, that's what I.
Yeah, I guess in some way it was like the
bombings were just a waste in a way because you couldn't do anything in the daytime because they were able to. The fighters weren't able to. What do you call it? Not guide. Escort like the bombers there, and then bombers would just get picked off. Easily.
There was some pretty interesting things going on the ground too, like in those times with how they.
Oh, and then radar too. Radar, like British had like the best radar system.
Yeah.
So like they knew like, oh, hey, guess who's gonna be here?
Yeah. The British also did a very good job of actually dividing, instead of like continuing their manufacturing in like the factories that were being targeted. They were really surprisingly efficient at like kind of divvying up the work throughout the city. So it would be like in somewhat inconspicuous locations where they would be manufacturing things, and then like, you know, finish shit to a certain point here and then transport those to another building and like finish it there. So like they were pretty creative in order to like keep their manufacturing up while they were being bombed so heavily by the Germans.
Yeah, because look at everything that happened at Dunkirk, which is like very interesting. Like watching that Finest Hour movie, I think some of that wasn't like obviously made for the movie, but like that one speech where it's like almost as big as when FDR's like kind of line where like this day will live. No, it's not. Which this day will live in infamy.
Oh, after
Pearl Harbor,
December 7th,
like those set of words were
1941.
just as good as this is their finest hour. Like those, like for me, like those two like speeches and like specific lines like are like what. Like it gives me like the chills almost in a way, just because I'm a historic person or a historical buff person. Two
more really quick. I know this has been like really long, much longer than we normally go on this. September 15th, 1959, Nikita Khrushchev becomes the first Soviet leader to visit the United States. And then last but not least, September 15th.
Stalin or Lenin never came?
No, they would have been killed.
No, I meant like before all that the Bolshevik stuff.
Oh, I don't know about that, but this is like the sitting Soviet premier. Okay. Yeah. I guess it's possible that someone who once became premier was at the U.S. at some point. I guess I don't know. I guess Trotsky was probably in the U.S. at one point, unless he went straight to Mexico.
And then he found an ad. Catch.
Last but not least, September 15th, 1981, Sandra Day O'Connor is confirmed as the first woman to ever be appointed a justice on the Supreme Court.
Diversity, right? What's the word?
Yeah, I guess diversity.
Yeah.
So there you go. That is
It's a big
this week in history for the week of September. So Sunday, September 9th through Saturday, September 15th.
That was a good combo right there, dude. It was good. I felt good.
Yeah.
I knew.
I'm sorry that was so
stuff.
long, but
No,
it was good.
That
It was like
that was
probably
great.
by far the longest one we've ever done.
Well, I think the September 11th, just because
Yeah.
that one's like more personal. Not me. Not. I mean, we weren't there. We don't really know someone that was there, but it really, as young children at the time, it really affected us. Or like, what is going like, and then growing up and then learning about it, it's just like it's a little bit more emotional in a way because like I don't know,
Yeah,
it'd be like us being kids and looking at Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
So
So our final topic for the show
Swish,
is going to be surrounding
Swish, swish.
Nike's deal, which is their 30th anniversary of Just Do It, I
Just
believe.
do it.
They have selected one Colin Kaepernick, too much controversy, as their like poster boy for this marketing campaign. So obviously there's a lot of people that are happy with this, and like people who support him, and like the whole again. So like basically this has lit a fire underneath the whole like kneeling during the national anthem debate. Again, we're back.
Hello.
So yeah. So like, what do you think of Nike's move?
Well, from what I've learned, I think it's up until recently, Nike has been like the leader in like the market, or in that specific market, over Adidas for like a long time, and it wasn't until recently until Adidas actually has jumped over them. Whereas, what that said, I don't think it's gonna be, from what I'm hearing and what I've heard, and I haven't like done the research yet on it, but apparently it looks like Nike might lose 30% of sales are predicted out of this, and I would say probably I would be generous and drop that down to like probably like a quarter, maybe like a 25%, 20% of it will probably go down, which I don't think is going to be good for them. I think you're going to get like I'm just looking at it like a sales or capitalistic kind of view, or marketing kind of view. I think they're going to lose that market in a way, and it's not. I don't know if it's going to be good. I think they're going to get a little boost in whenever Trump reacts to it, and people that don't like Trump, they want to go against them, so they're going to go buy Nikes.
Right. Yeah.
Which I don't have a problem with it, but for me, like looking at it, I'm like, I don't think it was a good business move. Like looking at it from like that kind of perspective, and the way Adidas has been marketing themselves and been able to like recently, I don't know. I've had these pair of Adidas for a while now, and I'm an Adidas guy now because the next pair of shoes I'm going to get.
You're
is
an Adidas guy.
It's not that I don't like Nike. I never. The only time I ever wore Nike stuff was like the old shirts I used to wear in high school, but that was just like because I was in football.
Yeah.
And my football cleats. That was it. That was the only Nike kind of association I ever had. But I've always like liked Adidas. I've had Adidas like cleats in the past, and I've always like liked them.
Yeah.
But like me, like now, like personally, like I just like I never was attracted to Nike in the first place. So like to set up to what I'm going to say for the next thing is, it's like a thing that shouldn't be a thing, but it's a thing, and then it's a thing. I don't think Colin Kaepernick personally knows what he's talking about. I think he is able to translate a message that emotionally attracts people to that message, but I don't think it's the right message. I don't think it's the message that's gonna change things for the better. If anything, I don't like. For me, I don't understand why people are saying like. I guess what the rhetoric with Trump and whatnot over this, but that kind of division, kind of word has kind of sparked around his kind of start of all this. And not to be a dick to all the players, but when they say Trump is the person that divides us, I'm like, when I really look at it, like realistically in my head, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like it was all Kaepernick's kind of actions that kind of really just divided things or kind of started that whatever division in that just internet talk.
Yeah, what I would
I don't
say,
think it's like an actual division in like every day. Like yesterday, I was hanging out with a bunch of people that probably don't even have my political views, but we have a good time because we like the same music.
yeah.
So like, I don't believe in that division and what people. I think it's division lives on the internet, not in real life.
What I would say about the division thing, just real quick, is that like Trump did not originate the division, but he certainly drove a wedge into it.
Yeah.
One more thing before we like get too far down this that I left out, that I should have brought up in the beginning. There's a slogan. It's like not just like the the just do it thing. So like there's like a phrase that comes before that, and this is what it says. So it says, believe in something even if it means sacrificing everything. And then it's a picture of Colin Kaepernick and it says just do it. So I think like there's like that to me is perhaps even more controversial, because in no way, shape, or form do I believe that Colin Kaepernick has sacrificed everything. Like they're the people that in my opinion are being disrespected by the kneeling for the anthem and for the flag, like those are people that have sacrificed everything. Like the very there's been, so obviously this has been like a very memeable thing of like pictures of Thanos and like, you know, like sacrificing everything, like just do it and like stuff like that. But the one that sticks out to me was like a picture of Pat Tillman. And like him, like he like left his NFL career to go serve in the military and then was killed.
It wasn't like just like a regular like.
It was friendly fire too. Wasn't
No, I'm talking about like his NFL. It wasn't just like he was like a top defenseman at the time. Like he was very much like I said, but like whatever, you know, September 11th happened, drove him to do all that stuff, which was pretty big. And I think he, from what I remember, I don't think he opted out of his last. I think his contract came up and then he just joined the service right after that.
But like he could have stayed and like just like continue making money.
Yeah.
And like Colin Kaepernick like adopted into wealth, given everything that he ever needed, and then like is for a time anyway, successful and like financially successful quarterback in the NFL.
I don't.
So starts kneeling, like had a good basically like 6 months with the Niners. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's what it was. And then
like lost his starting job. Turned down an offer from the Broncos, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, because Elway I'm not sure if like Elway did that just to make him look bad, but yeah. I mean, he had.
And then there was talk about the like him joining the Ravens, and then like his wife had like a whole series of tweets or whatever, and then like that fell apart. So like, in no way do I believe that Colin Kaepernick has really sacrificed anything, especially now that he's printing money with Nike. And then so this has driven people to like cut their socks apart and like burn their Nike, put all their Nike stuff in a pile and burn it, and like that sort of thing. If you want to do that, cool. I understand. I guess for some people it's a matter of principle, but like you already gave Nike your money, so they don't really care.
I was like, am I wearing anything?
I don't have tennis shoes on, but the tennis shoes that I wear normally are Nikes.
Are you not gonna burn those?
I'm not gonna burn them. No.
Like, they're comfortable as hell, dude. I fucking love the shoes.
As far as like them. So, like, to me, like, that's the most egregious thing is, like, the slogan that goes with it, like, believe in something even if it means sacrifice everything. Like, Colin Kaepernick didn't sacrifice anything. He was not going to he was not in a position where he was going to further his NFL career.
Yeah, he was at, like, what a lot of people say with the end of the road. Eventually he would have been a backup
no more than a backup.
Yeah. Like I said, yeah, he had the good 6 months, kind of just took over because Alex Smith got hurt, and then he came back. He came in and just, like, Harbaugh just liked him.
Yeah.
Very much like it's just a mobile quarterback that really doesn't have much to him and was figured out just like a Vince Young or like a Michael Vick in a way. But even though Michael Vick was a little bit more effective because he was a lot more mobile.
Yeah.
But Russell Wilson's a different type, and he's more of a top tier quarterback for me. But yeah, looking at it like when people make the argument like he can start, I was like, no, he can be on a team. I would say maybe, but
he could start for the Cleveland Browns.
Like for me, personally, if I was a head coach or whatnot, it's not that I don't. Like if he can contribute, but he's not going to contribute at a starting level. He's going to contribute as a backup.
And the ratio at this point of like distraction to contribution is not worth it.
Yeah, because all you're going to get in not the locker room. Like I don't think the locker room would be as much as effective as you would think. I think it's the press conference that would be these stupid questions that are just consistently asked about just things are not even like asked about the game. Like they're not even talking about the game anymore sometimes in those press conferences.
Yeah. Or there'll be like pressure
any
on the
sport
coach,
almost, yeah.
like why isn't he starting?
Yeah,
It's like, well, he's not the best quarterback we have. I was like, you're crazy. I was like, no, I'm the head coach.
Yeah, and like that's another thing. Like that would be the distraction. It's not going to be a locker room. It's going to be the press conference, like the media distraction.
Yeah.
And that I wouldn't pick him up, even if like say I have like a questionable starting quarterback with a decent bag. I wouldn't. I don't want, not that there's baggage, but like you just don't want to have to like answer those questions. Like you want to be have that beaten down on you. It's like then you're the guy that signed Kaepernick and never played him, or you play, or you know what I mean. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess
it's just like it's not necessary. I mean, look at Johnny Manziel. He's playing in the CFL. He's doing it his own way. I think it was a way to put attention on Kaepernick in a way, because his career, like I said, was not going anywhere, and he couldn't even start for the Niners over Blaine Gabbert. So it's like if you can't even start over Blaine Gabbert, come on, there's a problem here. But yeah, I mean, I don't like the comparison too of him and Muhammad Ali. I think those are
I don't either.
two different. They're not even in the same like.
And Muhammad Ali was, to my knowledge anyway,
like
was never
same
sponsored by like a major
Yeah.
corporation to like continue doing what he was doing.
Yeah.
He was like a black
Well,
sheep.
they didn't really have. It wasn't the corporate or a sponsorship like that never really existed the way it is today.
Okay, yeah, that's probably true. It's fair enough.
But like what Muhammad Ali did, it was like at the time it fit everything, and it also was something that needed to kind of be said. But I think it was not just, from my argument, from what I've seen and what I've read about the Vietnam War, it's more or less on the lower class, not just the population of African Americans. I think there's other, there's dudes from the middle of the country that were just as poor as black people that were getting sent over there. There's Hispanics that were just as poor that got sent over just because of the draft. That's how it worked.
Yeah.
And I think the messages shouldn't just be like it's not that Black Lives Matter or whatnot, which I think a lot of their stuff is, from what I've heard, is not very correct. But I understand why they're frustrated. I understand why they don't want these things. I don't want these things to happen. But I think there has to be, Colin Kaepernick needs, and just that kind of education of what happens in the real world, which isn't.
Well, I just don't think that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's just like it's not translated well for me. Like I remember, it goes back to like police brutality. It's plain and simple on what needs to be taught to young individuals, black, Hispanic, white, that when a police officer stops you, just don't give them trouble. That's it. They don't want like, it's not that they don't want to be there or have to stop you, but they don't want to do that. Why the hell they want to just be able to go along their day, go home, and see their family, and then do it the next day, and protect someone in case something bad happens, right? 'Cause that's what they're supposed to do. They're not supposed to do these things, even though some of them get a little carried away. But like, think about it like this: when you're, I'm going a little bit away from the conversation, but that's just more towards what the cause of everything is. And think about this: when you're like, say you work at Walmart, or you have like a job similar to that, you have customers come and go, and like you have like the rude customer, and like, dude, you want to punch that guy in the face, and like, yes, some people at Walmart will punch that person in the face, and like, we're all humans, we all tick. It's not, I don't think it's the best excuse, but I think if you don't understand that, then it doesn't make the situation better. And I think it's just a thing from what I've, I read Thomas Sowell, and I believe a lot of that stuff is factual, which he has a lot of it to be backed up on. But, I don't think people are educated in that way. And I mean, online on Facebook, I've had cousins, I've had people on there, just, there's instances where, yes, like what happens is bad, but also we need to look at good situations too. We can't just like look at the bad. We can't just put the microscope on all the bad, which isn't that big in the first place. and watch the cop that helped out the guy that shaved for his job interview, like stuff like that. And like for me, like it's not that I don't like cops or anything like that. I thank them. I appreciate that they're there. But it's not like I don't have like any kind of grudges or anything like that. Like whenever I get stopped, I'm not even gonna like try anything or whatnot. I'm always asking, hey, can I reach or for this in my pocket for my phone or something like that? And like they'll say yes. I'm okay, because I want to make them more comfortable than I am. Because I'm pro Second Amendment, but I am terrified of guns. And like you, Josh has asked me, Brandon has asked me, hey, dude, you want to go to the firing range? My dad's asked me, my brother, but I'm like, no, I don't want to be around a gun. Like I know I should probably have in the future, or maybe should be able to learn how to use a firearm, but like I'm not like. It's like frightening to be around a cop, not because he's a cop, because he has a gun on him. Because humans are humans, and what happens if like some weird instance where his wife calls him and like I'm leaving you or something like that, and he gets pissed off or something like that. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but you don't know.
Shoots the guy that he pulls over because his wife leaves him.
Yeah, I don't know, but like that's what I'm saying. It's just like it's interesting. Just I think what we should be talking about is finding a solution, and not this BS of Colin Kaepernick being, this praised as this person that sacrificed nothing. And we should really be looking to educate the coming generations and the current generation on what not to do. I think police officers should have, if we are able to do that, police officers should be more comfortable to do that, to do their job. I don't, like I said, like, I don't want to make someone's job harder than what it is when it should be. Like, that's not what it's like. That's what I think about it. And I don't think a lot of people do think about it. They're like, oh, why is this cop, like, curse word, pulling me over? I'm having a bad day. I'm like, yeah, you're having a bad day, but take a deep breath, get this over with and move on. If you have something bad in your car that you're not supposed to have, then that's your fault. Simple as that. I don't know.
I think that
I ranted, sorry.
From the standpoint of like why they're kneeling, they're like, oh, it was never about the flag or like anything about that. Is like, and we've talked about this before, I think, but like I'll quickly reiterate. I understand that they're not kneeling, or like that their intention perhaps is not to disrespect the flag, but in kneeling they are disrespecting the flag. Yeah. And this especially is even more relevant to me with the whole like believe in something even if it means sacrificing it. Like that phrase now in conjunction with them kneeling for the flag, like no one on that field has sacrificed everything. Yeah.
Even when you look at it too, it's like I don't understand why people say, oh wait, they have the right to protest or da 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 da. Well, I'm like, well, people have the right to criticize them for their protest. Mm-hmm. And if you can't understand that like it goes both ways, then you might want to read a book or two, or educate yourself on that.
Yeah, I would also say that
be able to take the criticism.
I would also say that the statistics don't support their opinion in most of the cases. Obviously, there are individual cases of terrible people, sometimes racist people, racist police officers that do terrible things, and that's what you see when you turn on CNN and NBC and like the news. But like on the whole, the statistics don't support them. Even in like police shootings, the statistics don't support like the opinions that they have. Yeah, it's kind of, this conversation now has been kind of dry. I almost thought we were past it. Obviously, there was some controversy a couple months ago when the NFL said that like they weren't going to allow like you could stay in the locker room or you had to come out and stand. Like there was like a league-wide policy.
I got a big conversation.
I don't care.
Not too long ago
like
this,
yeah, there's like sure you have freedom of speech. Your employer has some control over what that speech is. You have like if I was owner of an NFL team and say like Colin Kaepernick was on my, like before this whole kneeling thing started, and like Colin Kaepernick was on my team, there's like a press conference after every game. Like if he like answered a minimum number of questions regarding the game and he wanted to spend a little bit of time and talk about something that was significant to him, like go for it. Like, cause all of these people have access to a much greater platform than like anyone than like any of us ever will. Like having that sort of like national, basically like they have a national broadcast every day to like speak their mind if they so choose.
Yeah.
And so like if they want to use it in that way, fine. Like sure. I don't know that I would really care. But you also, like you said, like have to be willing to take the criticism for what you say and like people to critique your opinions and your points of view and criticize you and present data and facts that might be counter to what you believe.
This even goes back to like when I was talking about like Braun not too long ago on like a chat thing in Facebook, and then like I was like, you know, I was criticizing LeBron what he was saying, and someone was like, well, what right do you have, or not, like what expertise do you have in like politics that makes you say that LeBron doesn't know what he's talking about? I'm like, I don't have to have an expertise. It's my opinion, and I told you what I said, and I had facts behind it. If you don't like it, then that's too bad. Yeah. Like that's the thing. I was like, it even goes back to like even David Hogg being like criticized about his politics, and then how, you know, he was somewhat being babied, and then someone says something bad about him, and then they try to bury that person. It's like you can't handle being criticized and being hated or whatever you want to call it, then maybe you shouldn't be talking in the first place, or maybe you need to compose yourself to be able to handle that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is. It's a combination of that, but also it's like all this mumbo jumbo BS stuff is just not solving any problems. We're not looking at what needs to be fixed or what needs to be done. And that's like my main issue in the sense of all this. Is like nothing's gonna get done out of any.
People are just gonna be yelling at each other from like over the fence.
Yeah, and it's on the internet, and it's not like none of this is real. It feels like it's on the internet, but it's not real because nothing's happening. Nothing will happen out of this. Black Lives Matter won't get any support out of this. The other side will be criticized for not caring or being a dick. So it's like nothing's going to get done.
Everyone's already picked in this particular manner, like kind of just close it out here. Like everyone's already picked their side, like because we've already been through all this. Like when it was actually happening, and then like a year later when it was like, oh, well, Colin Kaepernick's getting blackballed by the NFL. And like there's a lawsuit right now going that like he filed against the NFL for like, I guess, discrimination or like wrongful termination or like something like that. So it's just like people have already like the stake is already in the ground. Like people have already picked their sides. So like this doesn't really change anything one way or the other. For me personally, like the slogan that they chose to add it like makes it a little more egregious than it would have been if it was like just calling Kaepernick as like their marketing thing. But yeah, I'm sure that people will continue to yell at each other on social media for the next couple weeks, and then something else will happen, and we'll kind of move on again until the NFL does something stupid and brings it back up, or Trump continues to tweet about it, or whatever.
Yeah. Let us know. Let us know if you disagree with us, because it's not that I want people to just. I just want to know, like, what is he sacrificing? I don't understand. What is he really sacrificing?
He's making more money, in my opinion. He's making more money now than he would have with the rest of his NFL career.
Yeah, and it's not like I'm trying to be a dick about it. It's just like, what is he like? Give me something to look at so I can comprehend what's coming from the other side. That's all I really. I don't see what's really going on that side and how it's got to that point. You know what I mean? It's just like,
yeah,
I don't see any correlations to what's going on. I don't know. Ugh. Good conversation, man. Good job. Good job. Well, that's been it, ladies and gentlemen. That's been the Jacob and Me podcast, where we talk about anything and everything that me and Jacob want to talk about on all these awesome topics that we just did. Thank you guys for watching on YouTube. Know that we do this on YouTube as well, a video one if you want to watch our beautiful faces. Also, we have it available on Google Play, iTunes, and SoundCloud. So thank you guys for listening over there. Know that we do a audio version as well, and we'll release it sooner than the video version just because of the editing purposes and whatnot. So that the struggle is real. But thank you guys for watching. Go ahead and subscribe to the College Avenue channel or our audio podcast services. And go ahead and like or love the video. Give us an awesome 5-star review. Josh just got on some game right now. I have been... Oh, no. Go share this with all your invisible friends. I would like this. Yeah, there we go for that one. I've been the host, Richard Radio, joined by the man with the noggin, Jacob Bullard. We'll see you guys soon-ish. We got to crack out one before you leave, and then Josh will sit there for a week and a half, I think, right?
Yeah.
And that's it. We'll see you guys later. Bye. Jacob waved. Context.